Yes.
And also tell the audience, a little bit more about Danny.
Okay, well, my name is Danny Green. I'm from the East Coast, but I've been in LA now 30 years, 32, so I claim LA. And unlike so many, I don't know everybody's background, my self-motivation or determination comes from, well, I'm a foster kid. So I never knew my family, got adopted at a young age. And then I lost my foster mom when I was 15. And so at that age, I had to make a decision because I was raised by my foster brother, Mike, who at the time was a hustler. And so you have to make a decision whether you're going to go that route or the other route. But because at a young age I was also involved with boxing, that kept me off of not kept me off of drugs, but I never was interested in doing drugs growing up in Philly. So I'm a fighter. I won the Golden Gloves twice, back to back in '89 and '90. And I actually graduated, put myself through my last year of high school. I was on my own, and then I put myself through 4 years at college in Iowa, and got my master's from Ohio State University. I'm the first African American on record to get an undergraduate degree and a master's in the field of computer animation. I went to Ohio State, which was I went to a school in Iowa called Mary Crest College. That was the first school to offer it as a degree in '84, and then I graduated in '88, and then I was the first African American accepted at the Ohio State's program in Columbus, Ohio. Well, we all know where Columbus is. So, education-wise, I give people my education, background and my life background because I became a comedian. And and how that went about was well, one, in terms of not staying on, but speaking about self-determination. I think Philippe and Chris, anybody in life that has a decision, you have a decision to make. There's every part of your life, there's a fork in the road, and you have the decision to make to decide how you want to go about it. And because I had watched a lot of news, I'm very, if you follow me, people know I'm very topical, and I talk a lot about things that happen in life. I used to watch the news a lot as a kid, and I used to always see, like we still do, there'll be a crime or some type of crime going on, and then you'll see the guy in court, you know what I mean, and his lawyers, right before they sentence him, they're saying, well, look, my client, he grew up in an abusive background, you hear this all the time, and blah, 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 and I used to watch it, and then I'm putting it in my terms, but, you can see the judge saying, like, well, we understand that, he still got to give him these 25. I got to give him 25 years. But I'm sorry that he went through this. And even though I made a joke out of it, it really touched me. It really caught my eye that people, like Chris said, people are not going to care. There's certain points in your life, this young man here, he may not understand it, but there's certain points in his life where people are going to care about who you are and what you're doing. 2 years old, when you get 5 or 6th grade, go to kindergarten, 11, 12, and then you turn teenager, 18, and 21, and then 25. After that, people think for soon you should have it together. So I had to make a decision with my life, like what I wanted to do. And I got into the entertainment. Really, I've always been a character, but I grew up in Philadelphia. I grew up in a rough area, West Philadelphia, and anybody knows that if you grew up in the city, you can't be too funny. You can't be too, you know what I mean? You can't be, because it's always that one thing. And it's always that one person that wants to try to take advantage of it, you know what I mean?
You're not gonna like it.
He taps you on the back of the head, thinking he's playing, you let it go, next you know, you're getting bullied. So I didn't play that, you know what I mean? But because of that, I used to have people in college say, man, you're funny, you're a funny dude. So in graduate school, when I was in Ohio State, a buddy of mine came to a club one night and he said, man, me and Tasha, my buddy, him and his wife, they're married now, but he said, we went to a comedy show, man. This was 1990. He said, man, Dan, I ain't gonna lie, you're funny than half them dudes I see on stage. But what people don't know is I always wanted to be a businessman. So I always wanted to be corporate. That was my goal. And it sounds crazy, but my idol was, and I think the older folks here, not older, we ain't that old, but you remember the Ebony magazine, and there used to be the guy on the back with the beard and the bottle and the drink. He was the model.
Billy D. Williams?
No, it wasn't really. But it was like it was always a model dude.
Oh, gotcha.
I always wanted to do that. No lie. By the 7th grade, I was like Chris says, he was doing things. By 7th grade, I was carrying a briefcase to school.
Mm-hmm.
I was like one of the few kids that I wanted because I wanted to be a businessman. So you know, he told me about this, and anyway, I went to Ohio State. I was at Ohio State. I graduated. I was the first person at Ohio State to do interactive computer graphics, and that is when you combine live action with animation. I was the first to do it at Ohio State. I was taught by a guy named John Burton, who worked on Men in Black and stuff like that. So I really wanted to be corporate, start my business. So what I did, I graduated from Ohio State, started a business in computer graphics with a white guy named Joe Daniels called Black Box Computer Graphics. And as we were starting the business, I was driving down the street. I was actually still looking for jobs, and I was driving down the street. I saw the marquee that said open mic night. I said, you know, everybody keeps saying you funny, you know, like, you know, 'cause I already had graduated, and so I was just pretty much job hunting and looking. So I drove down the street. I called my boy, Freddie P, and he's actually my fraternity brother now. I'm a Q.
You know Javon Pearson?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's from Philly.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I just threw the Q party here for my friend right here.
He don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I know.
He rolled his eyes.
People, which I don't know, we play a lot of golf together, so he's always in blue and I'm always in purple. So that's just, you know.
Well, you decided to switch teams today.
Yeah. So,
You
yeah,
always
yeah,
wanted to be a segment.
yeah. So what happened was, I wound up going to the open mic night, and so I'm sharing this part of the story because I think this is very important for everybody, all of us as adults and my man here. I went to the club and you had to put your name in the hat. You know what I mean? Because there was only 8 spots, but there were 16 comics. So out of the 16, I got drawn that night. And out of 8 comics, I got 2nd place in the competition. And I say that because I don't know what would have happened if my name didn't get drawn that night. You know what I mean? Because literally, I don't think I would have went back.
Right.
And I remember telling my buddy that, I said, yo, my name got drawn. I'm going to do stand-up. The show starts about 8 o'clock. Fred, I said, man, you know, why aren't you coming out? He was there, you know, he's like, first thing he goes, like, oh man, you better not embarrass me. I'm like, ain't nobody gonna know you on stage, you know. So I say that because, you know, when you have that self-determination, you have to, there's points in your life when you have to make a decision. And if you don't believe in yourself, or if you have a fear factor within yourself, you may miss out on an opportunity. And I say that because I had a lot of fear when I came to LA. It was not fear of people or the street. I wasn't worried about I could handle myself that. But it was early in my comedy game where, and Philippe probably knows because he's been around a lot of us coming to the clubs. You got these names and you got the guys that they're pushing. And you want to feel like you're the dude, but you're not the dude, even though you may be funny as those dudes. So I had a lot of self-fear for a number of years. And it probably wasn't until 2000, and I'm not here in 92, and it probably wasn't 2012, and I just said, I'm that guy, you know what I'm saying? So that was the turning point in my career. I did produce a movie called The Executioners. It's a boxing documentary that's out right now on Tubi. And I'm currently, you know, I know we're gonna get more other questions, but I'm currently in the process of getting finance for a feature film. I produced my first feature, so yes.
Danny, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How did you accept being booed? Like, let's not say booed, but when you first started your career, and especially coming to LA, and you talked about the fear factor and the fear of failing and the fear of not being as good as some of these other comics and stuff like that. When you got on that stage and, you know, nobody's laughing that night, right? How did you feel? What kept you going? You know, to say, you know what, I can still do this. They didn't get it tonight, or whatever. That determination to like get back up there.
So before Danny answered that question, I'm gonna present these questions because this is in line with what Philippe was asking you.
Okay.
What are your motivations? What gets you up in the morning on those days where you may not feel like it? And what drives you to keep doing what you're doing?
So what happened